Hello everyone. My name is Dr. Miduraj Panikar, Assistant Professor, St. Thomas College, Bhilai, Durg. Today I'm going to talk about prawn culture. So before pass on to the prawn culture, we should be knowing what is the difference between prawns and shrimp. So actually, we could say prawns are the larger variety, and is having more enormous claws and legs and a well-developed gill structure. And mostly they are seen in freshwater and brackish water habitats. And shrimps, on the other hand, are smaller marine forms, but they are belonging to the class Crustacea, but different family, Penaidae and Palimonidae. So let us see what is the nutritional value of prawn. Apart from being a delicacy, so prawn are rich nutritive source of protein, vitamin A, vitamin D, glycogen and amino acid. And one of the important thing about prawn meat is they contain less amount of fat. And also enriched cultured prawns, they also provide polyunsaturated fatty acid, PUFA. So we know that plays an important role in the health and weight maintenance of us. So culture of prawns have been an age-old practice, especially ancient times. The prawn culture is practiced in an extensive way. So that means extensive culture means it's a more basic method and less effort is put into the husbandry of the fish. So especially extensive type of prawn culture which is done in ocean, natural and man-made lakes, bays, rivers, etc. And nowadays intensive and semi-intensive culture is practicing because of the recent advancement, technological advancement in aquaculture. So intensive method, it's a well-managed form of fish farming in which all attempts are made to achieve the maximum production of the fish from minimum quantity of water. So that is the difference between extensive and intensive method of prawn culture. So actually intensive method of prawn culture which was triggered by the increased demand of prawn in recent years. So, coupled with the inadequacy of the capture fishery landings to meet that demand. In fact, the shrimps and prawns have become high value commodities mainly because of their export market. So, due to the prospects associated with exports, private sectors, with the support of the government organization and government, have resorted to such cultural practices. So, so when coming to the history of the prawn culture, so early attempts of prawn culture is mainly by stocking these juveniles in the stocking ponds, but it was having disappointing results. So, several Asian countries have carried out several research to standardize the prawn culture under the controlled environmental conditions, but that time it was unfruitful. But in 1961, a breakthrough was made by Marine Fisheries Research Institute, Malaysia. They discovered that certain amount of salinity was an important and basic requirement for the survival and development of the early stages of one of the variety of the prawn, that is Macrobrachium rosenbergi larvae. Currently, the Macrobrachium rosenbergi is a favorite species of Indian prawn culture. In India, the prawn breeding unit of Central Inland Fisheries Research Institutes, they developed indigenous technology for prawn culture in the year 1975. So let us see what are the different types of prawn culture. We can culture prawns in marine water systems, freshwater systems, shallow water systems, and estuarine systems. And let us see what are the important cultural prawns and their importance in the fishery. So, some of the important prawns which are meant for culture systems, which are suitable for the culture systems are Penaeus indicus, then Penaeus monodon, then Metapenaeus monoceros, Metapenaeus brevicornis, Palimon styliferus, Macrobrachium rude, Macrobrachium rosenbergi, Macrobrachium malcolmsoni. So these are some of the important prawns which are suitable for the prawn culture practices. So usually the farmers are collecting the prawn seed, especially from the creeks, canals, and shallow waters. So that seeds are used for culturing further. Especially the lunar phases, which are the best time period for collection of the prawn seeds. Usually the larvae and juveniles obtained by the collection from the natural resources such as estuaries, lagoons, backwaters, or by hatchery methods can also be practiced by controlled breeding. So these, by that way we can collect the seeds for further culture. So this is the post larvae of prawn or prawn seed. Usually this type of larvae is collected from the collecting natural sources for culture, further culture. So mainly some of the gears which are used for seed collection, especially we can use the nets, shooting nets can be used, scoop nets or drag nets can be used. And nowadays, induced breeding is also practiced, especially by hypophyseation. It is the induction of by injecting the pituitary hormones to induce the breeding, injection of pituitary hormones. So that method is known as hypophyseation. And in this figure, you could see some of the nets, gears, which are used for collecting prawn seed. So shooting net is there, drag net, scoop nets. So in brackish water prawn culture, especially four different types of prawn culture are practiced. First is only stocking and harvesting without any care given. So without food supply, only stocking and harvesting, without any care to prawn population and without giving food. Then second method is stocking of known quantity and cultured with natural food. And also we can stock higher concentration of the prawn and especially in the case of intensive systems and adding extra nutrient. In this method, the production can be increased by 500%. And also we can do the stocking of the selected prawns at high concentration with fertilization, supplemental feeding and stock manipulation. So these are the four types of prawn culture, especially in brackish water. Then one of the important step in prawn culture, that is pond preparation. So before stocking, the culture pond is de-watered and its bud is exposed to sun to dry. Actually, it will help in the high soil in the increasing the fertility of the soil. And after that, moha oil cake. So moha oil cake is an organic toxicant which can be spread over the bed at a rate of 100 to 150 kilogram per hectare and water is drawn to a depth of about 4 to 5 centimeter. Actually, this toxin dissolves in water and unwanted organisms are killed. After that, the water is again drained out after 2 3 days and the pond is flushed with fresh tide water to wash away the rest of the toxicants. So, pond preparation. is achieved through that. Then fertilization. So fertilization is especially done for the better growth of prawn food organisms. So for fertilization, manuring of the pond is essential. So this manuring could be repeated monthly with kind of oil cake. 50 to 100 kilogram oil cake can be added, and the urea, superphosphate can be added to the pond to enhance the fertility of the pond in order to get the better growth of the prawn food organisms, especially algal growth के लिए, and also for the other live small organism, the growth of small organisms. Then water management. The water is periodically drawn through the inlets. So that inlet has to be guarded with the closed mesh screen. So because without a closed mesh screen, this will allow the entry of undesirable organisms and also the escape of prawn. And also we should maintain the optimum ranges of temperature, especially 25 to 30 degrees Celsius is the optimum range of temperature, and dissolved oxygen has to be 4 to 8 ppm and pH has to be 8. Then stocking, especially the fry and fingerlings are directly stocked in ponds after the preparation of the pond. Then the stocking density is high in brackish water than in fresh water because the growth rate is slow in the brackish water varieties. And supplementary feeding is done depending on the stocking density and productivity of the pond. Usually, the stocking density, which largely depends upon the culture practiced. Single stocking and single harvest can be done. Then single stocking and multiple harvest, or multiple stocking and multiple harvest. Then supplementary feeding can also be done to enhance the productivity and also the increase the size of the prawn. So, and also when the natural food is not available, or for example, shortage of natural food. So that needs, at the time of shortage of natural food, needs supplementary feeding. So that will lead to better growth in a pond where prawns are stocked at high concentration. So when the prawns are stocked in higher concentration, the supplementary feeding has to be done. So that will increase the growth of the prawn. Then harvest. So partial harvesting is done by setting bag nets at the outlet during low tide. And total harvest is also possible only with complete dewatering of the pond. For especially for harvesting, the crafts such as vallam, mazula, dinki, nauka can be used. Harvesting के लिए, so we can use nets, traps, hooks as gear for harvesting the prawn. Usually cast net, drag net, barrier net, doll net, gowl net, gowl gel can be used. So in Kerala, the prawns are cultured in backwaters along with the paddy crops. This is one of the best method of culture, paddy cum prawn culture. So here the juveniles of commercially important species are trapped in the paddy field. So a variety of paddy that is known as pokali is harvested in September. So from that time, the salinity of the paddy fields gradually increases and the prawn juveniles are allowed to enter with water through the controlled sluice gates. And inflow and outflow of the water is allowed daily during high and low tide, but prawns are prevented to escape with the bamboo mats placed inside these gates. In April, the culture comes to an end. The prawns are completely harvested by repeated netting and dewatering of the field. So some problems are there with prawn culture, especially mechanical problems such as when the structural failure of the water gates is there. So it will lead to the escape of prawns, and also the landslide from the dikes, erosion and silting up of the farm ponds, overflowing of the ponds. So these are some of the mechanical problems in prawn culture. Then physical problems like temperature, fluctuations in temperature, turbidity of water, and chemical problems such as salinity, imbalance in salinity, then organic pollution of from the farm ponds, uh, uh, then oxygen deficiency, and sometimes the biological problems like the parasites and the diseases causing several problems in the prawn culture fields. Then certain first. But if you are giving proper care, we can control these problems. So thank you so much.